Excellent. So, Jason, let's just get going. Welcome to the podcast. This is David Weaver, and my guest is Jason DiPietro at Right at Home. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, David. I appreciate it.
So, Jason, I wanted to have you on the show. My show is really centered on successful franchisees and successful franchisors so that my listening audience can get a sense of what does that really mean? What does it mean to be a successful franchisee? What does a successful franchisee look like? And so I feel like your story is incredibly valuable. And kind of the journey over the last couple of years here. So just share your story. Tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get to Right at Home? Why was Right at Home a franchise that you found worth investing in? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, I spent a lot of my life in a 9 to 5. I worked as an engineering job, and I always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. I bought rental properties when I was pretty young. I've always had a little side hustle here and there, and I knew I always wanted to own my own business, top to bottom. So a couple years ago, when I decided to make the jump, I serendipitously met you at a social gathering, and you had explained that you're a franchise consultant, and franchising had always appealed to me. So that was fantastic. And the thing that appealed to me about franchising was, you can step into a space where you are not a subject matter expert. And with your intelligence and hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and the right franchise, you can make something great out of it without having to reinvent the wheel, which was a thing that I didn't have a lot of interest in.
I love it. And I hear
Yeah,
that a lot. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. You mentioned side hustle. That's such a big buzzword today, right? I mean, we've got the internet and TikTok is just pounding us with you can make $1 million in 60 seconds of your spare time. You've always had a side hustle. What did that mean to you, and how is that different than, say, owning your franchise?
I think side hustles kind of let me test the waters in small ways of the things that I liked, things I didn't like. Let you understand, how much effort, translates to returns. Because there's plenty of side hustles where, yeah, they're pretty easy. You can do them on the side, but you're not going to make any money out of it unless it's a full-time job. And then you realize some things don't scale all that well either. You can put a lot of effort into something for moderate returns at best. And then you also kind of get some experience realizing that hard work is one thing, but headache is a whole nother thing to manage. And it's a bit of practice, which is kind of good. Well, you still have your main thing that feeds you, and puts a roof over your head. So that's why I like side hustles.
So talk to me about Right at Home. You made the decision to start this full time, right? Right at Home is not a side hustle. Right at Home is
No.
full-time effort. And in my consulting practice, I kind of define the owner's role a little bit differently, right? And different franchise brands are built for different owners effort or effort level. And Right at Home is a full-time effort one, right? So, but you made the decision right as the pandemic started. I think if I remember back, you signed in you made your decision in February and signed in March or something like that. And it was right when the uncertainty in the world was sky high. Share with our audience that mindset or that thought process, that and moving forward with it, right? With all this chaos going on around you. That decision all by itself, Jason, puts you in rock star status in my mind, because so many people find all the reasons not to move their life in the direction that they want. And some people do, right? And you're one of them. So share with us that thought process, or why did you go with hit the gas pedal instead of the brake pedal?
Well, it was kind of three things. The process that I spent working with you, where you educated me on how to pick a franchise, that was extremely helpful. And by the time that you helped me land on Right at Home as a brand, I was already absolutely sold that that was the thing that I wanted to do. So I had that component of it. I had the component of situationally in my life, I had aligned everything to be ready to do that. I had sold all my properties. I had quit my job that I was working at, and I was like ready to go. And if I wasn't going to move forward, we're rolling into a pandemic. We didn't really know exactly how it was going to be, but yeah, I was like, I don't know what else to do moving forward for the next undetermined amount of time. So there was that. And then the last thing was my interactions with Right at Home Corporate were fantastic. And that made me that solidified even more that I wanted to move forward, because, I had already, gone through the process. They had already like accepted me. And technically, I think you have 30 days to sign the actual documents with them. And they had a very candid conversation with me and explained, we have no idea what is going to happen with all of this and what that means to our business and our franchisees and things like that. And they then lifted that time constraint and said, hey, we want you to like think about this and not have a time constraint and make a decision when you're comfortable doing it. And then over the subsequent month or two, I had meetings with them. I spoke with existing franchisees, and they were just so open about the where things stood with them and what their projections and things like that allayed a lot of my concerns. Because it was going to be harder than usual, but I had faith that they had things under control, and the path forward looked good.
I love what I'm hearing. So the process was helpful. That makes me feel good. I think my process is pretty comprehensive. It's important to me that people actually become educated buyers. Like they know what the business model is going to be about. But what's interesting about what you're saying, Jason, is the power in that decision was matching this objective information gathering, this educational phase, with the subjective. I trust that franchisor, right? The fact that the franchisor slowed the roll at the end and didn't say, hurry up and sign. He was like, look, this is a crazy time to do this. Take a minute and think it through, and also talk to a bunch more franchisees. Now, that's what I have people do to get to a decision. That's part of the education. But what that did, what I'm hearing is, it increased, you really spent more time on the subjective side of the decision, right? Balancing that objective and subjective information to make a very solid decision. And now fast forward 3 years, you're in a pretty solid spot. I mean, we talked about coming on the show because we had a fantastic conversation about a month ago or so. Where are you today and things like that? And we'll get to that in a minute. So talk to the audience, or kind of share your story, what the last 3 years look like, right? So the wins, the losses, the trials, tribulations. I mean, it's not all roses, right? It's not all, as my wife likes to say, this isn't all sex and kittens, people. That's her statement. So tell us a little bit about both the wins and the losses, or what I like to say, the wins and the learning.
So I would say first and foremost, for as much research and reading as I've done on owning a business and running a business and being an entrepreneur, it did not prepare me for the adventure that I went on. It doesn't do it justice until you've actually like walked that road. So that was a thing that was pretty striking to me. And I can look back on in the last 3 years and where I was, and it's shocking to me how little I knew for as well armed as I felt like I was, and I was, I think, all things considered. But yeah, it's shocking, the things that you stumble across. And one of the things that helped me is all of that learning and reading and understanding beforehand really helped me identify when I stumbled into the pitfalls myself, because you read about them. A good example is, you know, an owner often doesn't want to delegate because no one can do the job better than me. And, you know, I told myself like, oh, I wouldn't do that. I want to work on my business, not work in my business, right? As they say. And time again, I've caught myself doing it, you know, and having like a 11:30 at night leaving the office going, wait, this is what I didn't want to do. The point of owning a business isn't to be, you know, overloaded all the time.
Work until 11 o'clock at night. Nobody wants to do that. They're doing that in their corporate jobs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so
It's
much
not so
easier
bad when
said
you're
than
doing it.
it's
It's not so
easier
bad
said
when
than
you're doing
done,
it.
right?
Oh yeah, because you know you have something that you have a vision for, and you're trying to get there, and you can delegate some things, but other things they have to be exactly how you want them, and no one can do it like you. But you've got to learn to pick those battles, because otherwise you end up doing everything yourself. So being educated ahead of time has helped me see those things as I stumble into them, which has been really helpful.
That's excellent. So you use the word adventure, which I kind of chuckled on because the just the tonality of how you said adventure. And I knew, having done it myself a couple of times, I know exactly what you're talking about. For the folks that are listening to this that maybe don't know the elongated adventure, right? Give me a snippet of what that means. You weren't prepared for the adventure, I think is what you said.
Yeah. Um, an adventure is, it's the whole journey. So an adventure is not always fun, and it's not always pleasant. But there's parts that are. And, you know, it's recognizing that when things are scary or hard or just downright miserable, that's part of it. That's part of that adventure. And then you have wins and exciting things that happen, and you know, and that's all part of it. And you don't get those wins, and you don't get that exciting part without the other parts. Just not how it works. And you got to hang on to that in your dark times, because there's times where you're just like, what am I doing? This is crazy. Um, you know, then you have other days where you just like, you wake up and you're like, man, I'm killing it. This is cool.
I love it. That's so true. God gives us mountain peaks and he also creates valleys, right? And so sometimes you got to walk through the valley to get to the mountain peak. And that's a great analogy in terms of, you know, the way that you described adventure. Jason, thinking back on both the wins and the losses, what's the best thing about building your business? Like the thing that you have enjoyed the most? Maybe it's an experience, maybe it's the people that you surround yourself with at the franchisor and or your own business. What are your thoughts on that? What would you say is kind of the best part about being the owner or building a business or whatever?
There's two things. The first thing for me is, this is mine. That I built this. I did this. You know, I go back and I can look at my payroll, and I have paid almost $1 million in wages to other people. That's like that's so exciting to me. Like, I did that. I generated this thing, and I've helped, hundreds of clients. Like, I did that, with a team and with support and everything like that. But I put these wheels in motion and I pushed this forward. That's extremely fulfilling to know that I've done that. The second thing for me is, it's that you don't grow anytime you're in your comfort zone. And part of the reason I took this on is I wanted to grow. I wanted to learn a new skill set and become a better person. And being the boss forces you to learn how to be a better leader. And that's really difficult because, when you have employees who aren't, succeeding, sometimes the employee isn't the right fit. But it really does make you look introspectively and say, geez, what can I be doing better to encourage and inspire these people that work for me to want to do better? I don't want them to be compliant. I want them to be excited about what we do, what they do. I want them to come into work every day and be happy to be here. And that takes a lot of work on your own part to figure out how to lead people like that. And that has been really exciting for me. And I've really enjoyed that a lot. And it's interesting because it overflows to the rest of your life. I've gotten better at my personal relationships as well, because it's a transferable skill. When you have, it is, when you have combative things with friends, your mindset changes, where it's like, I don't have to like go toe to toe with this person. Let's work this out. And it's my job to like maybe help lead that. And I've really been happy with that aspect of the business. It just forced me to do that, because, if everybody in the room is a jerk, probably you, right? As they say.
Jason, there are so many nuggets in there. I can't believe it. And the word that I like to use is impact. And I heard that in the things that you were saying. The most fun part of being the owner, one of the things that I picked up on is it's pretty fun to write the front of the check, sign the front of the check instead of the back of the check. That's pretty cool, right? And also the impact that you get to make on other people's lives, right? Through just their payroll and helping support other families and things like that, but also the community that your employees are serving and the customers that you're serving. That's every business that's out there. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about creating business owners is that impact. But to hear you talk about it just energizes me all over again. So super fun. Here's a question that I thought of as you were kind of describing the wins and the losses. What's the hardest thing that you had to learn that now drives the most success in your business, or sort of what makes your business easy to own now because you kind of made it through that gauntlet? You mentioned Crucible earlier. What would you say to that?
I would say probably the thing that's helped me the best is identifying how important it is to pick your team, your core team. I recently have a business leader who kind of pointed this out to me, and it's been pivotal for me. And he explained that there's 3 types of employees. You have a combative employee, you have a compliant employee, and then you have committed employees. And, when I first started, I had a mix of those, right? And I learned very quickly, well, let me rephrase that. I learned recently how important that is to identify that as soon as you can. Because if you have a combative employee, they might complete the job, but when you're drowning, they're not going to help. right? Or they're going to throw a wrench in the mix just because, right? They like to see the chaos. And then compliant employees can be great assets. You know, sometimes you need people that are going to do the work and just get it done and are a bit indifferent to the overall success. That's okay. You know, those people can be good. And then, which most important is finding those committed employees, those ones that when you're drowning or one of your other core teammates is drowning, they're so committed to your mission that they just want to help and they want everyone to succeed. And it's been striking to me how dramatic that can be to a business, is having those committed employees. So learning that was probably one of the biggest points that helped me succeed recently.
So fun. And again, a lot of wisdom coming out of that one. And what you're making me think about is when my wife was running our Elements, my wife and I owned, we ended up selling our business at a premium because we could demonstrate that our team was so stable. And what I didn't think about it in those terms. Having the combative employees are easy to identify, right? Because they're always picking a fight, or they like to throw wrenches in right when things are going badly. They throw a wrench in it to make it worse. Like that's obvious. The compliant employee's tough, right? Because and they're not always good. They're okay to keep around, but that one you almost need to weed out as well. And what I learned is when you have 2 or 3 committed employees, they create 2 or 3 more committed employees. And that's when you really start winning. And when your role as the owner is a lot more fun, because then you get to step out of the day-to-day, because a committed employee wants to be around other committed employees. If you have one committed employee and you have 3 or 4 wrench throwers, that committed employee is going to be the one that leaves, not the wrench throwers, right? And so that what you just described is so critical in any organization, right? Franchise or non-franchise. But as the owner, you start paying attention to these things and they start moving the needle for you. And that's when owning a business becomes a blast. So really, really cool answer, Jason. I love it. So you've been in business for roughly 3 years. I don't really remember the dates, but I'm thinking 2020 and 2023. So pretty successful 3 years. I mean, you told me in your previous conversation that maybe I shouldn't say this, but you've reached a level of revenue that most small business owners don't reach. And most of my candidates don't recognize what an achievement that is. So tell us a little bit about where you are today. Like, we had a conversation about a month ago. You were sharing with me where your business is and maybe where you want to take things as a business owner, as an investor. So walk our audience through, mindset for Jason in 2019 and mindset for Jason in 2023 and 2024. What's different? What's new?
So at the beginning, a lot of it was just trying to figure out so I picture a business being a machine, right? And in the beginning, you're just figuring out which parts of the machine you need and where they go together best, and a lot of it is that, ready, fire, aim approach, where it's like, yeah, that's set up, great. Oh, good, that's set up. Okay, that works. And so at the beginning, it's that you're just trying to collect all your parts and hope you have everything. And then you sit there and you're tinkering and you're assembling it, and you get it working and it works fine. And then I'm at the point now where I've assembled the machine. I can step back and I can look at it and it's like, okay, this works. But my mindset now is to go and hone all the edges of the gears and the blades and all the things in the machine, so the machine is so well tuned that, and that's defining SOPs very clearly. It's setting roles. It's, looking at where your operational inefficiencies are. Maybe you need to rearrange the machine a little bit and make that machine just hum effortlessly. And then from there, what I'm picturing is being able to, now bring someone in at some point to take over my role in the business, and everything runs so smoothly. And I've done all the legwork, and I've worked out all the kinks that, you can have a mildly competent person at the helm, and the business nearly runs itself with very little effort. And that's the goal I'm at, or that's the goal I'm shooting for now, is just find all those rough edges and any inefficiencies in the machine, so I can, enjoy the fruits of being a business owner rather than having those, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 a.m. kind of nights.
It's much more fun. Jason, what I love about your analogy is it was so engineer, right? Like, it's a machine, it's pieces, it's parts, it's recalibrating. So just the picture that you paint speaks volumes. And this is the thing that really stood out to me. You can be an engineer and get into the people business, which is senior care, right? Because senior care is all about people. It's about your caregivers and building teams, and the whole purpose of that particular business is taking care of mom and dad when their adult children are no longer living in the same hometown. And a lot of people don't see that, right? If I'm an engineer, I want some kind of cost analysis business, so I can get in and help people identify their operational efficiencies. But you got into a business that's all about people with an engineering mindset, and you're still successful. So I think that is the way that you painted that picture is really phenomenal. And you're absolutely right. You're approaching, and it shows that you pay attention to my particular style of coaching, which is identify a business that you want to own 3 to 5 years from now, which sounds like you've actually built. And that's a business that doesn't need you to run it. Now, not every entrepreneur thinks like David Weaver does, right? Because some people want to be the guy in charge and want to have people need them to ask questions, et cetera. And as a business investor, I think it's much more fun to invest a lot of time and energy to build a really solid machine and then watch that thing produce cash. Because the word that you left out of your machine analogy is a cash machine. I want to create a cash machine that I don't have to be around to run, right? So super fun, Jason. It's so much fun to see the success of people that I help get into business, take that business and do something with it that impacts their life. And that's why I'm in the business. And I'm glad that you took some time to share your story with my audience, because a lot of people, like, I don't know how many years you thought about being a business owner before you actually did it, right? Probably a while.
Oh, quite a while. The concern was, when you Google franchises, it's just, the internet, and it's hard to understand what's a good choice and what's not. And I'll be honest, I can't thank you enough, because the process that you worked me through helped me like understand, what, and then make my own decision with, and not just have someone say like, oh, this is the right thing or that's the right thing. Your process is education, and for me, that's invaluable. So when I picked the thing, I was very confident that I understood enough to make that good decision. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And it's my pleasure. I mean, I'm telling you, this is so exciting for me to have you able to come on my show and share your story. And, it feels like your wins feel like my wins, just because it works. And let's be honest, not everybody works, right? Not everybody is wildly successful. Not everybody thinks that all that hard work building a business is something they really want to do once they get into the trenches. you know, they don't like it. And I say that frequently. Business ownership isn't for everybody. Franchise ownership is different than entrepreneurship. And so helping people identify the right fits so that they can be successful is super fun. I have a blast doing this. Jason, how can people reach you, or do you even want to be reached as it relates to your story? I always want to give people their a platform, right?
Yeah.
But at the same token, do you want people calling you up all the time? I'm not sure. So you tell me.
Yeah. I'm happy to help people. That's also why I'm here. Yeah, my best contact is probably by email, and that's Jason at seniorcareboulder.com. And that's Boulder, like the city of Boulder.
Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to give you some of my time and talk things through. It's been an adventure, like I said, and I'm happy to provide any clarity that I can.
Fantastic. Well, Jason, I really appreciate your time. So many good nuggets of information in the things that you shared. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I can be found at www.franchiseyourfreedom.com or David at franchiseyourfreedom.com. So thank you for being on the show, Jason. You have a fantastic week and a very successful 2023.
You too. Thank you, David.
You're welcome. All right, what'd you think? How'd that go?
Not bad.